Focus on love. Love what's in focus. Aim for above because the ceiling's bogus. Focus on love. Love what's in focus. Aim for above because the ceiling is bogus. Focus on love.
Gab Rydelle.
And this is Brendan Lane. Have the two of you used Zoom before? Real quick.
Yes. I have used it once before.
Okay. I guess the only thing that I would mention is you can switch between like speaker view and gallery view, I think, on your phone, so you can see everybody at the same time.
Cool.
And I mean, yeah, that's really the only thing, I guess. So, yeah, thanks for joining me. Earlier today, there was like another session, but that ended up being just like 2 one-on-one interviews. So I'm excited to have both of you on at the same time. This is fun.
Right on. One thing I'll say is I had a gig that was supposed to be scheduled for 3 o'clock, and it was going to be perfect because it ended right when this was going to begin, but I got double booked. So we scrambled, and I've been working all day to set up a concert in our back parking lot. Like, had to get the permits and everything. So that's starting in like 45 minutes to an hour. I didn't plan that and expect that. I just wanted to let the people know that at the beginning of this. So,
oh yeah, that's totally fine.
I hope that doesn't throw a wrench in there. Everything.
Yeah. Can you show the setup? Is it all set up?
Not yet. We're waiting on a couple of people to move their cars right now. But basically, out there, where that house is going to be the stage area. We're just going to kind of set up on the ground and gravel because, you know, grassroots style, and then play out. We're going to take all the chairs out from, there's my house and 2 adjacent houses with friends of ours, kids around our age, some a little older, some a little younger, take the furniture and put it out in the backyard, set that up as seating so people can be safe and responsible while they're still enjoying some live music. We sent out for a couple of cases of beer that we'll sell for a couple of bucks, and see if we can make something out of a shitty situation of getting double booked this afternoon.
Yeah, totally. Like what precautions are you taking due to COVID-19?
When we play at bars, the restaurants themselves, they have no bar service. So you can't sit at the bar and have that close interaction with other people. And they have table service in its stead, where people can sit 6 feet apart and maintain a social distance and still get the bar service and restaurant service that they're used to. There's a couple places in town that are more traditionally music venues where you're supposed to be standing and walking around like you would at like a club and all that. And so it's a little weird to have table service and bar service. I usually work as a bouncer at the main place in town, and it's a little soul crushing to tell people you're not allowed to dance, but it's for a good reason, right? It's so we can get out of this as quick as possible. In terms of the backyard kind of stuff, and I've been doing a few little private parties here and there. The fortunate thing with that is it's just that it's a private party, so the crowd is limited to, you know, 10 to 15 people max, and in the space people can distance themselves, or it's usually people who know one another. And a lot of people have been getting tested in town, and fortunately there have been a significant number of negative test results coming back. Mm-hmm. So it's put people's mind at ease a little bit, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, interesting. Cool. So I think we can get this started. So this is famous rapper Convos. And so here's how it goes down. So I'm going to ask basically just a few questions, and basically each of us is going to share our answer. The way I like to do this is, so like, for example, I'll ask Brendan Lane. Do you prefer Brendan or Brendan Lane? Both?
Yeah, you just call me Brendan. It's my name.
All right, cool. Okay, so Brendan, I want you to tell me, like, going back to when you first like got into music, like your first exposure to music, and like what is your full artist story, if you could tell the whole thing in 3 minutes. And then Gab, I'm gonna ask that you try to summarize exactly what he said in 2 minutes. So just like a slightly shorter summary of his full artist story. Does that sound good?
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. All right, let's hear it.
All right, so my father's a jazz piano player, and when I was born, he just exposed it to me at an early age and saw that I took to it, so put me in music classes early on, had me listening to jazz. I got older and found out about the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and rock and roll and fell in love with the guitar and rock and roll music. And as that grew, I started to fall in love with the roots of that and blues music. Simultaneously, as I was getting older, I was discovering music on my own and really fell in love with the songwriters, Jack Johnson, John Mayer, Dave Matthews, Leon Bridges of more recent years, Gary Clark Jr., those guys that were writing songs on their own and were able to mix it with complex music and stuff like that. And so I fell in love with that. And as I got older, fell in love with the Grateful Dead and some of the more intricacies of taking solos and jams and all. So it's all kind of morphed into one just big party.
Nice.
That was way less than 3 minutes. I'm sorry. That was really short.
All right. So maybe I can give you a jumping off point. Like, can you talk about like some music that you've released? Like, when was your first song
Certainly.
release or stuff like that?
I remember writing my first song in Spanish class when I was a junior in high school. Some girls said something offhand about being really bored. And I was like, oh, that's really poetic. Let me write that down, and kind of ran with it. And from there, I was hooked on taking nuggets of ideas that would catch me throughout the day, and just turning that and developing it into a story or some kind of plot line that was resonant with how I was feeling. I released my first song on Spotify in August of 2018 when I was living in Alaska. I was working on cruise ships and playing music all over. I definitely left that part out. That's definitely a big part of my journey. But I played on cruise ships from 2017 till 2020 when the coronavirus went down. I was on a ship in Fort Lauderdale and hopped off that as soon as I could, and rented a car and drove to Dewey Beach, Delaware.
Wow.
And
okay,
that's
cool.
where I've been holed up. Yeah.
Nice. So Gab, what did he say?
That was all over the place, brother. Good luck, man.
Let's hear it.
Well, the first part, the basics was that you grew up with music. You were grown up from a young age, and that your father showed you music. I definitely you were naming off some good musicians off there, and you definitely could see that your dad had a profound history in music as well. And then I definitely I liked your part where you're like, basically it's a party.
Yeah, we like to have fun. We like to get the audience involved, and one of my favorite parts about putting on a show is you can see in the audience when two strangers become friends, whether it's over the course of a chorus, a song, or even the whole show. Two people from different walks of life can come together if I can see that happen and make that magic happen, then I've done my job.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool. So moving on, Gab, is it Gab Rydelle? Should I say the whole thing, or Gab Rydelle? Cool. So what is your artist story in 3 minutes? And then I will tell back.
Okay, so my artist story. So I actually started with music at a young age. But during this time, my mom was in a church choir, but I was with a father that was very physically abusive. So during this time, music was the only thing that helped me because my own father wasn't really there for me. So music is what gave me a voice within myself. And honestly, through the years, music gave me that voice where I felt like I was, everyone told me I was meaningless. I wouldn't do anything with my life. And it was like, I found that voice within music, and I definitely grew with music. I ended up putting myself into professional vocal lessons. And I was working with that. And when I turned 18, I decided for my family and me to have a better relationship, I moved from California, the Central Valley of California. I decided to move here to New York City. And
Cool.
I've been out here for now 2 years. I was doing stuff on YouTube and stuff, releasing stuff back in California. But now here I am in New York. And I've released my first EP back in February of this year, actually on Spotify. Previous music before then was on SoundCloud, but my first EP came out, and yeah.
Cool. All right. So what you said was that music as a child was kind of like an outlet, or like it helped you through a difficult, family situation with your father, and you you wrote songs, or you listened to music, I think, mostly, and you started writing music at some point, and then
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
and
didn't
then
mention that. Yeah.
cool. And then when you were 18, you moved to New York. But
Yes.
in California, you were releasing songs on YouTube, and you just started more recently, or you dropped an EP kind of recently, I think, on streaming services.
Yes. Yes.
Nice. What did I miss?
Oh, it was just the yeah, I started writing music when I was in 6th grade. It was when I was first like getting away from my stepfather.
Mm.
Well, let's see. This is what happens when you buy cheap internet, folks.
Yeah. Dang. Well, would it be better inside? Or is it?
No, not at all. This is the
Okay.
modem's right on the other side of the wall, so it's yeah, it wouldn't.
Okay. Well,
But
it
I'm
looks
back
like
now. It seems like pretty, yeah.
yeah, I think it's stabilized. Cool. So I'm gonna tell my story, and then you can try to summarize it, Brendan. That's cool. So, I think you're there. I think you can hear me. So, I'm David. I made my first song when I was 14 with my friend Faraz. I went to his house, and I primarily have made rap music, and I'm a rapper. And when I was in college, I learned how to make beats, and then I graduated college, and then I kept making songs, and I got more into like being like a full-time artist like about 2 years ago, and I decided that it was something that I wanted to do, and so basically the first thing I did was I like started networking with producers, and all right, I'm just gonna talk to you, Gab, if that's cool.
Yeah.
I started networking with producers to put together like an EP. And so I basically made like one song with 3 different producers. And then I also made my own beat and then put that together for a 5-song EP called Studio Rap. And then after that, I kept making songs. I wanted to basically, and then I spent a lot of time like learning how to freestyle rap. And because I wanted to be able to make songs quickly, and I thought the songs that I wrote on my EP like weren't the strongest in terms of like lyricism. So I started like performing freestyle rap with a rap improv team in San Francisco. So we did practices like every week where we would get together and do like freestyle rap games, like learning how to rhyme and improvise rhyme and stuff like that. And that helped me like write songs a lot faster. And that was in 2018 when my EP came out. And in 2019, I dropped, I think like 2 singles. But then in 2020, I dropped my first mixtape, which I created by just freestyling for 38 minutes in a row. And then I just like edited it down into like a 28-minute EP. Mixtape with 11 songs on it. And since then, I have been working on my album, which is like a love album, I guess, for my girlfriend. And I've been like building this like community of music artists, or trying to slowly. And so we've been doing this thing in order to work on my album, like I call it the rap rotation to riches. And so every week we've been each like sharing one song with a different artist, and getting like detailed feedback on it. And so we've done that like for 5 weeks so far, I think. So that's basically like 5 songs, 5 demos from my album. And then after I get the feedback on that, I'm gonna like remake it into like a finished album. And now I'm here today.
Okay. So basically you said that you started music at a young age. I think you said you made your first beat when you were 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then from there you, when you got older, you started talking to producers, started communicating with them. You started with, did you start with rap, or you liked rap the most?
Yeah, yeah. I always listened to rap music growing up. Lil Wayne was my favorite rapper, and my siblings always listened to him. And when I was 14, I made my first rap song, not a beat. I didn't make my first beat until I was like 19 or 18.
Oh, okay. So when you were 14, you made your first rap song.
Oh, yeah.
And then you had your EP and a mixtape, and now you're currently working on an album, or yes.
Exactly. Nailed it.
Okay.
Sweet. Hey, Brendan, how is your connection? Are you like hearing what we're saying, or is it going in and out?
Excellent.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah. I can
what
hear everything. I can hear everything you're saying. It's just the picture is so staticky. But I love that you got into the improvisation of hip hop music. I really love that, because I dove into the improvisation of guitar based music when I got into the Grateful Dead. So the fact that you really got into freestyling and turned your freestyle passion into like an album is really, really cool.
Thanks. My next question is, if you were to look ahead like 12 months from now, like where do you hope to be with your music at that time? And then like what are some of your kind of plans going forward for the next 12 months?
Well, in 12 months, looking forward, I will definitely want my album to be out. I'm working on an album right now as well. And just to get more exposure to my music, because I'm definitely already have gotten good feedback for my music. So I've been working with a lot of different producers and different artists here in New York. So it's like, I already know that like I am now connecting with people. It's just I need more exposure to my music. And hopefully in 12 months, I'll be able to figure out a social media platform somehow.
Nice. So you have an album that you're working on right now?
Yes.
Like what's how far along are you on that?
I actually, the plan on this album is actually, I'm going to be first releasing, I'm almost done with that, and it's going to be up soon for mastering, and we're going to be working on getting that within the next month or so. I'm going to be releasing one of the songs that was just me. I can give a little hint to it. It's called In Malibu. And then I'm going to be working with another single that I will be working with this female rapper in Brooklyn. Her name is Clumpiana. And I'll be working with her. And then both those songs will be on my whole album, which as of right now, it is 9-10 songs.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah. So you have you're going to do like 2 singles for the album, and then drop the album. Like, when is that going to be coming out?
The album, as of right now, luckily a lot of the people I've been working with are really up to date. We've been working really fast on things. As of right now, I want the album to be out within probably the next 4 months, give or take.
Okay.
Sweet.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing, I've been thinking about putting out a full album too now for some time. I play a lot of live shows. Like I said, I perform on cruise ships, and up until this point, I've released 4 singles, individual singles. And I've thought about, should I release an album digitally, which it seems like you're planning to do. And I thought, well, it wouldn't make a sense on a digital platform. This is just my own rationale, and I want, maybe if you have something that if you've thought about this or you have a different way to think about it, please let me know. To release on a digital platform an album seems almost moot now, because people just hit shuffle and they'll just get your catalog regardless. Like, I know there's an artist, Bruno Major, who released 1 single every month and then made that his whole project. But I never understood what the project was for if you just have the singles and people can just hit shuffle on your Spotify playlist. But if you play live shows, however, and you're playing concerts and you have that merchandise you can sell, that physical product that you can put in someone's hand at the end of the night, that's a different story. While it seems out of date and out of touch with the physical CDs, I think it's almost like a musical business card you can give someone nowadays, or that's how it can be used. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, personally, here in New York, you're not going to get booked for anything if you don't have something out already. So you have to have music on some sort of platform, and you have to have some sort of platform to even get noticed here in New York.
Of course.
So it's definitely a big thing that you. It's how honestly people will not take you seriously. I've noticed here in New York, I did not get taken seriously and did not get noticed until I actually came out and was like, "This is my music." So
I got you.
And then on top of that, after you release it, that's when I started to get like people asked me to come perform live. That's when people started offering stuff.
Yeah, and what I would say about that is like, you know, I mean, it kind of depends on the artist and it depends on the type of music that you're making. Like an album is usually like, you know, like people like write and record and make an album because it's like usually, you know, a cohesive project in some way.
Yeah.
Like it like tells some story like across the songs. But yeah, you are right that like after the album is released, like typically people would listen to like, I mean, it also depends on the listener. Like me personally, I almost only listen to albums for the most part. Like someone drops an album and then I listen to the album and
you like, listen to it top to bottom, like 1 to 15 or whatever.
Yeah, that's how I listen to music.
Yeah, I'm the same way. At least with the first listen through or two to the album. But I also know that I'm not the majority in that regard. I know a lot of people just kind of just go for it and just put it on and fuck it, you know, whatever comes on, I love it. If they love the artist or
you
know.
So I mean, so that is true. And also something that you can do is like once you have released like a bunch of music, you can actually just put it into like playlists and stuff, which are like kind of like lightweight albums. And so you can like organize your music that way. And an album is like a way to get people to listen to a bunch of your music all at once. But if you don't already have like that fan base, then like people might not listen to it. But yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like you can go either way.
Interesting. I hear what you're saying.
It's really like an artistic choice, like I would say. Yeah.
Because I love that. I love when artists put out that kind of almost like a concept album.
Yeah.
Of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
something
like,
that tells a journey.
Yeah, and releasing the singles is like, you know, that's one way to do it too. And what like works, like I feel like people will tell you that like doing it this way is like how is the best way to do it, like one single a month or something, but like I don't think it really matters that much.
Sure.
There's so many more variables.
Yeah, I get wrapped up so much in just overthinking about it, man. And when it comes down to it, it's just music. And if people dig it, they dig it. I try to remind myself to just release it because I love it and I would want to listen to it if I was in their shoes. And that should be enough for me personally. You know, like I think a lot of musicians I've met in my journey can get caught up in the superficialness of it all and the playlists and the YouTube the views and all that, and that it can detract from the artistry of what we love to do and why we fell in love with this in the first place.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, and like personally, I don't know, you can do all different types of things. Like personally, I definitely try to just like make as many songs as possible, and then from there, like I will like release the ones that, well, okay, so I use SoundCloud. Here's what I do. I use SoundCloud and I send like private links to lots of songs. Like I'll upload a ton of songs, like every song I make, and keep it private link and share it with like maybe a few people. And then after like a month, the ones that I think are the best or the ones that I still like, then I'll make those like public on my SoundCloud. And then like then even like the ones that are even better than that, like I'll drop on streaming services. and then right now I'm like putting them together for like an album release.
Joe's
and-
Wi-Fi, but it's fun.
Yeah, but you can do whatever. Cool. Okay.
Do you have
yeah.
music on like Spotify and Apple Music as well? And if so, have you found a greater success in fan connection on SoundCloud or the freemium sites?
Honestly, I don't.
I guess
think
SoundCloud is also freemium, but it's a little different than Spotify or whatever.
Yeah, in my experience, I mean, most people listen with the streaming services. So if you you just want it to be available everywhere, and then just let people decide. SoundCloud, like I don't have that big of a following, but also I haven't really like tried that hard.
I see.
And yeah, just like having your music where people want it. Okay, so for example, I made a collaboration album recently, and then I wanted to like sell it on a website, and so I am doing that. But then I realized like when you do it that way, then the song files don't have like the metadata, because you can't add artist metadata to a WAV file, and then like if people download it, then they have to like just add it to their streaming service or whatever anyway, and so it's just like extra steps, and so just making things like as convenient as possible. And these days there's like plenty of platforms, like there's a new platform that's pretty popular called Loom.
I actually have a pretty good following on Loom.
Oh yeah,
that's where
what's
I
your
got a
experience
lot
with
of
that?
my most of the people on Loom are people that are independent artists. So you definitely meet a whole bunch of independent artists out there. So it posts up for everyone on Loom to see, and you can see your style that you of music you like. But people just listen to it. You get feedback. People will comment on your stuff. Some people will tip you on it.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. It's called Loom, Loom.
Oh, it's LU with the 2 dots.
Umlaut.
German.
L umlaut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and I've been on there a little bit. I've uploaded a couple tracks, but they didn't get very many views. But I have really liked Loom for like discovering artists.
Yeah.
Because like Gab Rydelle said, like there's lots of artists are on there, independent artists, and then they also have like playlists, so you can see playlists for like different cities, and stuff like that. So it's been cool for meeting artists and stuff.
I dig that. Very cool.
Yeah. Cool. So my next question, I'll start with Brendan, I think. So I'm curious. So you mentioned that you do like improvised guitar. Are you a singer as well?
Yeah. I play guitar, I sing, and I play the harmonica as well. When I started, I've played in bands. I've also done the solo thing, busking in Washington, D.C., where I kind of grew up, picking a street corner and just hooting and hollering at the top of my lungs, hoping someone will listen. And I got a job playing on cruise ships as a solo artist. And so with that, I learned that I had a lot of time to fill and not a lot of songs to play when I first started. So because of it, because I had to play 4 hours, and you get like 2 or 3 breaks, if that.
Dang.
So that's a long time to just play a bunch of songs. So I started stretching songs that I knew with a loop pedal and kind of getting creative with that as much as I could. At the same time, I used my experience with psychedelic drugs and the bands that surround that music and that scene. I rephrase that. I got into bands like jam bands and stuff like that, and because of that, I got into psychedelic drugs. Music comes first. And so I was able to, and I had the freedom as well when I was working on cruise ships to really just test my improvisational chops. Even though I was improvising with myself, I learned what to do and what not to do, what sounded right, when to cut it off at the right moment. When did I go too far and when did I kind of just start dragging on, how to tell a conversation with my instrument.
Yeah, totally.
And
that's
from
actually,
there, I was able to jam with. I was able to jam with other bands and musicians who were twice my senior and all that, and they've been playing for a long time. And I was able to, then hold my own when I played with them.
Nice. So I'm curious, like, have you improvised lyrics?
I have. It's a little bit tougher. I find my lips can't keep up with my brain. You know what I mean? Like, as you know, from freestyle, it's tough to get what's upstairs to the front door, as it were. Sometimes it just doesn't want to leave. So having harmonica helps with that a lot. It just gives me a different outlet to improvise. I'll scat sometimes. That's like the closest I come to almost freestyling in a way, but I try and like just channel those old jazz artists that I grew up listening to, that my dad had me listening to, and trying to emulate those guys.
Yeah, sweet.
But I don't know how you guys do the whole freestyle thing, man. That's fucking tough. I've
so
tried
good
many
at it.
times. If I flub lyrics or something like that in the middle of a song, I'll try and come up with something on the spot, and it just 9 times out of 10 will crash and burn. So props to you for doing what you guys do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I mean, yeah, that definitely answered my question. Gab Rydelle, do you freestyle lyrics?
So I do actually a lot of my performances. I will like freestyle different parts. So I grew up in acting as well. Well, I didn't grow up in acting. I put myself in acting at a young age, and like so I went into acting as much. So it's been a little bit easier for me to improv stuff. And I've noticed like when I really started to release stuff, I've noticed that like it got easier and easier as it went along, and you started like being with artists and having fun. Cause like the biggest, the biggest exposure you get in New York is just like hanging out with other artists and like doing different stuff. So like how I met me and my friend, the girl that I'm going to be doing she's going to be featuring in one of my songs, Pompiana. We were at a friend's house and they were literally just playing music and we were just going off each other. I was like singing this whole riff in the background. She was like going on this whole song. So it's definitely interesting. I love it. Freestyle. I'm not the best at it, but it's definitely helped me actually write music too. It definitely has. Just going on a beat. It helps me now. Like I've noticed since I've started like having fun, just randomly freestyling with my friends. We do it like every time we're together. We just have fun with it. I've noticed that like now I'll pick up different stuff in songs. A melody will come on and I'll just hear it in my head and I'll just like start singing the chords down and my friends are like, you hear that from that.
I love that.
So, and I'll just hear lyrics randomly like in my head and I'll just start singing it. So it's definitely nice. It helps out. So yeah, I do freestyle lyrics.
Okay. I know what you mean though. You can when you're just sitting around with friends and you're kind of just fucking around on a beat or like in my experience a chord progression, and you just let it come out of you. You just let the music happen. That's you were saying you had an abusive relationship with your stepfather early on, and playing music is that release and just letting it come out, just letting it. The improv is not even calling it improvisation, but just calling it music and the soul. Let it come out, and whatever comes out, that's going to be beautiful because it's truthful, it's honest, and it's you.
Yeah,
totally. Gab Rydelle, was there anything in particular that you found was able to take you from like not being able to freestyle or just like not doing it to like then starting doing it?
Honestly, the biggest thing was just if you're not good at it, it's the best. It's what I learned in acting too. If you're not good at it, you got to fake it till you make it. And that's what like, when I was in California, I was still kind of dealing with my own insecurities, my own things. I was performing on my own, but I was still like dealing with, my own music. No one's going to like it, this, that. So I was dealing with all that, but it's kind of like just finding confidence to just like, just know no one's there to judge you, especially when you're with your friends. No one's there to judge you. Like you're there to have fun. And most of the time, if you say something stupid, everyone just starts laughing. So it's like, yeah, cool. That was the biggest thing. Just know, like, just be you. And that's like going to get you somewhere. Just say what comes out and like you'll, it's just to start off, say what comes out. And as you practice, the best you're going to get.
Yeah, totally. So you found it was helpful to do it with friends and, just be confident and have fun. Not worry about mistakes, just, laugh at mistakes and keep moving forward. Nice.
Hey friends, I got time for like one more question before I got to head out and get ready to kick some ass.
All
if
right,
that's
yeah,
all right.
that sounds great. Gab Rydelle, do you have a question that you could ask Brendan here?
Yeah, so how has it been, I don't know where you live, but how has it been trying to find gigs in like hometowns? I'm guessing it looked like a smaller town.
Yeah. I came from playing music every single night when I was working for Royal Caribbean. So when I came back and it was nothing, it was a big shock to the system. And I got a day job at a liquor store in town just to supplement myself and give me something to do during the day other than smoking weed and, you know, fucking around, watching The
Yeah.
Office for the 20 billionth time. And the liquor store is owned by this big company that owns a lot of bars and music venues in this small little beach town. So when I started working like in the beginning of May, I just started meeting people who worked there and at the other venues, and was able to just kind of talk my way into getting an audition gig at one of the beach bars that they own. And it went really well. I got my boys from home that I've been playing with since I was 10 years old. We got down here and we kicked ass and kind of created a little bit of buzz. So we were able to lock down another gig. And the big thing for us has been private parties. 4th of July especially, we had a couple of gigs on this woman's rooftop overlooking like right on the beach, overlooking the ocean and the whole town. It was a magical moment, and we kind of found a lucrative position with that, and played another one on Wednesday, got another private party booked. So again, like I was saying earlier, those little house parties, the small intimate settings where people can be safe and responsible, I've found are almost the way to go, especially because I can dial it back and just do the solo acoustic thing, or I can put the pedal to the metal and bring the full rock band on if I need to. I found my versatility has been helpful in this current setting. But I've been blessed. I know a lot of musicians who have not had the same opportunity and luck that I have had. So I'm not taking a single moment for granted.
Yeah. So it more or less like came through networking, right? Did you know when you started working at the liquor store that the owner had the connections to those bars? Was that like a plan?
It wasn't a plan. It was in the back of my head. My younger brother, who I actually live with, we live in an apartment together. He's been, he's my number one guy. He put that idea in my head early on of when I first started working there of, hey, kind of the idea of, hey, I'm here. If you need, not you good. If you need music, because a lot of people are going to be coming down in the summertime, and these big bands that come through canceled. You can't have it, but you could have an acoustic guitar player who can play blues harmonica and sing Kanye West with some fucking flavor. You can have that in your bar for, relatively cheap and entertain whoever's there. So that was kind of a selling point. And then we were able to back it up, is the most important part.
Yeah, with good music.
Yeah. So it wasn't planned going in, but it was definitely in the back of my head, and it kind of worked out. People encouraged me to go up and talk as they found out what I was passionate about.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, do
and
you have to?
On that note,
off?
I do have to head out right now, guys. Thank you so much. It was nice meeting you. I'm gonna Gab Rydelle. I'm gonna connect with you on Facebook if that's cool, and IG.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great talking with you guys and hearing your story, and I hope to connect with you guys soon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, peace.
Bye. All right. So it's just us. Recording. All right, sweet. Cool. Yeah, so we can probably take like another 15 minutes or so.
Okay, yeah, that works.
All right. So a question I have is, you mentioned that you have put some singles out on streaming services.
Yes.
So if there's one song that people that haven't heard your music before should check out first, which song is that?
I have my single Body's Shaking. I definitely like that song. It was not planned actually at all in my EP. I originally had 4 songs in my EP, and the guy that records my music was like, hey, I got beats, I got free beats. You can look at them, and it was like, I was looking at them, and then he was just like, yeah, you could use it for whatever you want. Like, you can post it. And I ended up really liking the beat. He ended up recording it. And then it was just a really unplanned song. It was my only song that I really worked into my falsetto. I really worked with singing on it into like my head voice. So I've really ended up enjoying it. And so did a lot of other people. I can't see the phone.
Nope. Yeah, it didn't work. Wait, 1 sec. So, oh my gosh, what a disaster. Here it is. The Heartbreak Chronicles EP by Gab Rydelle. All right, just so everyone can know what that is. Nice. I'll check out that song. So that's interesting. What was like the songwriting process for that song?
It was actually really interesting because some of these lyrics, so the Heartbreak Chronicles was talking about my time going through one of my heartbreaks. So it was kind of like the different steps of my heartbreak, and that's how I wrote my EP. The first song I wrote about was a lot of my songs, I actually went back and looked at some of the music I was writing back then. I tweaked it, and I brought some of the lyrics that I was like, this was very raw to me at the moment. And so I ended up bringing that back, rewriting some of it, and combining some of different lyrics that I've used for other things. So my first song was basically me. Is it fine if I go into like the whole setup of the Heartbreak Chronicles?
Yeah, totally. Let's hear it.
I really just wanted an image and to show like how my personal heartbreak went. So the first song was kind of like my doubt within our relationship. And it was this thing of me talking about them doing something. And at the end, I say it once in the song because it's me realizing at the end of the song, it's like, who you thinking about? Like, I made up this whole thing, and in my head, I'm thinking they're thinking about someone else. So I'm like, who are you thinking about? And then it went into I released the song, What Was the Mistake was my first single ever released. That was in the EP. And that was the part of the relationship. Like, I was just like, we broke up, and I was like, where did we go wrong? What was the mistake? And then I had Patience, which was my second single. And that was me in the part of the relationship where I was like, I really just like need this inspiration back. And I'm like, just give patience. Like, I really had hope that it would come together in the end. I was like, just like, patient. So it was my time where I was trying to I had a very upbeat personality on the outside. So that's why, like, in the chorus, it's more of an upbeat type thing, but then it goes back into like, how am I supposed to love myself? How am I supposed to get through this? And like the chorus itself was more upbeat. Then I had Jealous, where it was like, I'm now at this point where I'm jealous of what's going on. You're talking to other people. Sorry, I had 6 songs. And then came Don't Call Me, which was the part of the relationship where I was like, yeah, I don't need this anymore. Don't call me. Just don't. And then the last song was kind of, I liked the beat. It was not thing, but it was part of my breakup where I remember way at the end, I was like, I know, because they were messaging me back. So I was like, I know you want me back. And like, but I can do better than what you gave me. So yeah, that was kind of the whole breakdown, and it went into this. And the last song, actually, I used as kind of a wrap up. That's what I like about it so much is my second verse is actually, it was something that I decided with the guy making the beat. He was like, this is a good idea. I had where I had a lyric from each one of the EP that was kind of like the storyline. That was like, you used to be, I wondered what was the mistake. Give me patience and I will find my way. And like, I had this whole thing, but it's like, but I really don't need you. And then it's just like, I know that you're thinking of me, but like, I don't really care anymore.
Interesting. Yeah, that's awesome. So it was like a whole like story in this EP, and then the last song was kind of like summarizing the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's cool. And Apple Music shows me like what the most popular song on any project is, and it's interesting that Body Shaking, the last song, is the one that has the star.
Yeah.
So that totally matches with how you feel about it as well. So, and it's interesting to see that the last song has the star, because usually it's like, well, if it's like the first or second song, then it's like, oh, people usually just listen to, they just put it on and then don't listen to the rest. And so therefore the first one is number one. But
yeah, it was actually really interesting because it was Body Shaking. It got in there last minute. It was something that I was having fun with, and it was like, I did not expect for it to get how many people liked it. Because to be honest, when I first put it out, it was one of my favorites, but it wasn't my favorite at the time. So like when I first put it out, the song I was promoting most was Don't Call Me. And that was like, so many people were, my producer was like, he even said that too, that Body Shaking was like, someone that I was working with, he was like, I didn't really expect to like kind of catch on to the song. And a lot of people were listening to Don't Call Me, and then slowly you saw that like people were like saying more stuff about Body Shaking. I'm like, it was kind of coming out more. So yeah, it was definitely interesting how even my favorite song at this point is Body Shaking. So it kind of changed as I like listened to it more.
yeah, that's awesome. That's really interesting. So you mentioned like that you're working with like producers and stuff. Like what does when it comes to the team around your music, like what does your team look like?
I'm actually 100% an independent artist, so I pay for everything. I have my own guy right now that for my first EP, I was completely working with Chris Labella. I have other people that I would work with just for like my cover work, my different stuff, but I 100% wrote the songs, and that's a big thing that I like being the person to be in charge of my own music. My guy mentioned right away, he was like, you're very in particular of what you want. You come in and you're like, this is what I want done. And then afterwards we then add stuff to it. So it's like, it's definitely hard because it's mostly me doing all the work, but it's definitely rewarding in the end.
Totally. But you don't make the beats, right? Or do you?
No. So before I was getting them from him. He makes some of my beats recently. I was getting them from a few other friends that were like, oh, I'll sell you a beat. You could use it for whatever. More of just friends that I knew that were like, oh, and I was listening to their beats and I was like, oh, can you make something like this? And they would make something for me. But it was definitely, it was more of like me just reaching out to people. They were I worked with a lot of different people, and it's nice to now work with more people I didn't know before my EP.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the beats are like mostly like custom beats, like you ask for specific things.
Yeah, so they changed up a little bit of things. They had some of them did, one of them, or a few of them, I believe, they reworked one of their other beats and like was like, oh, I sell this beat. They reworked it and was like, oh, it sounds very similar, but I changed up a few things. But yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Cool. And yeah, so we're coming to the closing time ish. I'm wondering, is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you want to talk about?
No, just my performing. It's kind of different than Brendan's. It was I've actually grown my music more of right before the pandemic. I was more of a club scene person, so it was definitely interesting seeing someone talk in a small town, how they perform compared to in New York City. Coming into a club scene, you want to obviously it's a different atmosphere. So it was interesting listening to that.
So what are your performances like?
I've performed for my EP. I actually performed once in a theater down here that was kind of like rented out for a mini concert for independent artists. They had this thing out here, and I just performed, and they ended up they had people out there, and that was how I got so many of people that liked my music. Was my first performance was I honestly just released my EP. I was trying to get exposure on it. I sent it into this guy, and he's like, yeah, you can come out and perform. So I went out there and performed, and I ended up having a whole bunch of people add my social media. I got so much traffic from that. So it was nice. And then I started performing at a few different clubs here in the city, but then the pandemic happened. So now it's more of, I've been doing a lot of lives with people on Instagram. I've been doing a lot of different independent artists where they put out independent artists' music on a live. So it's definitely a change, but I've been trying to work with it.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So how else have you been connecting with your fans more recently, or even connecting with other artists or anything?
So I'm a really big person about letting communicating with fans, stuff like that. So I definitely people have noticed on Twitter, I definitely like just communicating with people. Someone tweets at me, it's nice to retweet it if it's something positive. Obviously, definitely just promote my own stuff as well. But it's definitely been a change to communicate with people, because I was getting a lot of in the club scene face-to-face interaction. Then people would I've been invited to go hang out with people. People are like, oh, I'm working on this project, do you want to look at it, listen to it, give your opinion? But it's definitely changed during the pandemic. I've done a lot of Zoom calling with people, lives, like I said, but I definitely have gotten a lot more independent artists asking me to write for them as well. So that's definitely a nice thing as well, that people have been asking me if I could help them out on their team. If they're like, can you come in for one of my songs and help me out with something I'm working on? So that's definitely nice as well.
Oh, that's cool. So a co-writing session?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, awesome. I've never been invited to do that, so that's a very special thing. That's sweet. Cool. And how can people find you on social media? What's your Twitter handle? It seems like that's the one you use most.
I use both IG and Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Rydelle Gabe, RYDELLE GAB. And then my Instagram is gab.rydelle, GAB.RYDELLE. Those are the two I use most. And then if you look at my social media, all my music is on there right now. You'll definitely see soon. In Malibu will be coming up soon. So
is that's the album?
Soon. No, that's the single I'm going to be releasing first, but kind of to get a little taste of my album, because it's a completely different vibe than my last album. This one's going to be more funk pop. I'm going to be rapping with one of the rappers on there as well. Yeah. So yeah, we're working on with the girl Plumpiana. We're working on a song called New Money. So we'll both be rapping on it.
Sweet.
So I'm definitely just using this EP to have more upbeat club. My other one was kind of it was hard performing. I got definitely a lot of feedback, but a lot of the club scenes that I was at were independent artists singing, and I wanted to be more of I want to get far. I was hoping to get into it before the pandemic, but after the pandemic, I want to get into the club scene and be performing in front of people. And that not so much independent artists. It's nice meeting other independent artists too, because they give you exposure too. They talk about your music, but it's definitely a different vibe. I performed once right before at a club with someone else, and it was a different song that I was helping them out with their song, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to come in and freestyle sing?" I'm like, "Do a little thing, and I'll give you a little attention." And I got a lot of exposure off that too, so I definitely want to go into that soon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's something that you've learned about songwriting recently?
Um, the what I learned about songwriting is definitely it's so a lot of people think it's easy to write music, it's hard to write music, you either are born with it. Unfortunately, a lot of my songs I've noticed when I first started writing music, I would continue to write one song until I was done with it. And I've just learned recently, because I've been working on multiple songs at a time, it's a lot of writers are going to have writer's block on one of their songs, different parts of their songs. So I've noticed that I will work on one song. Um, I've learned that it's easier if you're working on one song. For me personally, one song. If you're having a block on that, but something else comes into your head, change topics, work on something else until like you're like, oh, this is gonna sound good in this part. Sometimes I'll be working on something else and I'm like, oh, I don't like it in this song, and I'm like, but it sounds really good with this song actually, and like it works really nice with this song. So I definitely learned you can use, because your writing is your writing. You can use different parts of different things and make it a cohesive project. Like,
Awesome, great. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Yeah,
it was
thank
really
you
nice
for having me.
talking with you. You will be getting an email after this with a link to join a Facebook group called Famous Rapper Network. And so once you're in there, I ask that you write like a short little bio, and also include like a link to your best song, and also links to social media if you want people to follow you on. And then the people in there will check you out and give you a follow and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Focus on love, love what's in focus. Aim for above because the ceiling's focus. Focus on love, love what's in focus. Aim for above because the ceiling is bogus. Focus on love, love what's in focus. Aim for above because the ceiling's bogus. Focus on love what's in focus. Aim for above because the ceiling is bogus. I wanna lay down a never-ending road. We never go to